Hey there, it's Lauren, and I am filming this on my webcam at the end of my workday. We recently got a 9-week-old Cocker Spaniel puppy named Barry, so our schedules have just gotten a little bit flip-flopped recently. I'll include a little picture here just in case you want to see what he looks like. We got him 2 days ago as of my making this video. So it's been a busy couple days. In today's video, I thought it might be worth talking about some organizational tips, tricks from one entrepreneur to another. This is going to come in handy, especially for those of you out there who maybe don't consider yourself a super organized person, but you want to be. Maybe you are strapped for cash and you're budget friendly or budget conscious and don't have a ton of money to spend on like big, awesome, comprehensive project management tools or anything like that. This is exactly what this video is for. So let's not delay it any further, get right into it. The first thing I want to show you, in case you don't know, are for you Chrome users out there. If you use Google Chrome at all, I don't know if anyone has any strong feelings on it. I like it. I use it. It's great. If you want it to open on certain pages, I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's say that every day when I do my work, and this is true, I like to have my email, my calendar, and then my Trello board. That's like the core three that I like to have open at all times every day whenever I'm working, because I work at this desk a lot. So to save me some time or some extra little finger clicking, you're going to go over here to these little three dots way over on the far side. Click on that. You're going to head down to settings. It's going to be second from the bottom, at least on my screen. Click on that. Okay, if I move my little screen over here, you're gonna see that I've got a whole list of like settings and stuff over here. If you go to Startup, the one with the little power button here, click on that and it gives you some options. Normally, I feel like what happens is when you open up a new Chrome tab, it's always blank, right? And then you have to type in your email, type in your calendar, or use your bookmarks. You can have it open blank every time. You can have it open up where you left off, which is what I do now, just because I always have those core three tabs open. Or you can click here. If you click on this option, it's going to ask you to drop the specific like URLs, like the web addresses of the pages you want to have open. I would show you, but it's got like my email and stuff on it, and I really don't want that to be public information, so just pretend it's open. So if you click on this, you're going to copy and paste in those full URLs, and the order that you copy and paste those things in is the order that it's going to show up on your tabs, right? Okay, so that's the first one. It's super awesome, super great. The other thing that I want to show you too, just in case you don't know and you're a Chrome user like me, is that you can actually group tabs, and I do this a lot. I do a lot of client-facing work, so I'm always kind of like bopping around between different clients of mine. And one of the things that I'll do is if I have multiple tabs open for a single client and then more tabs open for another client, instead of remembering all that stuff, I'll just group it. So there's different ways of doing this. My preferred method is to just right click on my mouse and you'll get this little menu pop up. Go to add tab to group, new group. And then what I do personally, my style, is I just like type in the initials of the client that I'm working on, give it a color, and then I can just like group all those things in. By doing this, it's really cool. I can actually minimize my screen and it kind of cleans things up a little bit, right? If you're like a chef or you like to cook or you like to bake a lot, it's like the screen equivalent of cleaning as you go, if you want to think about it like that. And the reason that I also like to group these tabs with initials is so that if I'm on a call talking with someone else, it offers that client a layer of privacy without me having to close out all those tabs and then reopen it after a call. I don't know if that's something that you face. I face that because I do a lot of client-facing work. I do this for multiple clients usually. I'll right-click again, add to group, new group. Maybe I'll do JL, give it a color, and it's really super great because if I'm floating back and forth between the two, I'm able to minimize it, and it kind of saves me from feeling overwhelmed by all the stuff in my browser if you're someone who likes to have a lot of tabs open. The other thing that I like to do too is if you are someone who works with a lot of client information, right? I don't know. I do a lot of digital marketing work for people, and to do that, I have to have access to people's social media accounts, to their email newsletter accounts, to, admin groups on social media, whatever. So if I right click on my little Chrome app here at the bottom, you'll see that I've already got a few different ones. In fact, I do this for myself. I have different Chrome profiles for myself. I have one for work, I have one for personal, and then I have one for Creative Con, which is something, it's a creative business event that I help market. It's happening in Chicago in February this next coming year, actually. So if you want information on that, it's going to be in the description. So because I wear multiple hats, I make multiple Chrome profiles with myself that have different bookmarks, that have different like saved tabs and all that stuff. I also do this for clients too. If I have a lot of login information, I'll just put all of their login information in that browser so it doesn't get confused with mine when I'm working in my workspace or in my personal workspace or whatever. So really quick, I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to move my face over, and then you're going to click on the first 3 little buttons over here way up in the top, just like we did before. You're going to go to, let's see, click right here, and then what you can do is click add new profile. And then from there, you can continue without an account. That's usually what I do, and then I'll log in with my information. If I had client John Smith, I'll call it that, give it a color, hit done, and now whenever I close out of it and I hover over that app again, right click it, John Smith is right there at the top. So if I have a lot of really heavy work or a lot of work in general that I'm doing for this particular client and I don't want that to clutter up my personal workspace on Chrome, I just click this up or click on that, and then it opens up a whole new tab. It's got entirely separate passwords saved. It's got different bookmarks. It's got all that stuff. So that's also something that I do. And that's really all I have for Chrome tips. So after this, I'm going to be talking about Gmail tips if you're a Google person like me. Now, this is a very, very, very cleaned up version of what my Gmail looks like. All the emails that I actually have, I moved them into an entirely separate folder because I didn't want them to show up here. This is generally what my inbox looks like. You'll see I'm very, very heavy on color coding, and most of the emails that I get, I don't actually delete. I just file them somewhere because I have had so many moments where I'm doing work and I think to myself, oh gosh, what was that one thing that one person said? It was like 2 months ago. I really wish I saved that. Usually I'm able to do a quick search up here in the top, or I'm able to find it in one of these different folders. And underneath all of these items, anything that has an arrow, there are subfolders in it. Under my clients folder are subfolders that have all of my clients' names in it. So most of my communication that I have with those who have hired me for work, I almost always save them. Unless it's like a Google invite to meet or something, I'm almost always saving it. Just because it's good record keeping too. Like worst case scenario, if you just have a really bad client or a really bad deal or something and you have to take it to court, you at least can say that you've saved everything in writing that came your way. So for me, it's also kind of a peace of mind thing. It's also like a functionality thing and a searchability thing. It's just personally what I prefer to do. This kind of gives you an idea of just what my general setup looks like. And as you'll see, my little inbox folder might look a little bit different from yours. And that's because I have it set up so that my unread emails show first, and then all the emails that I have read show up at the bottom. So it's really nice to kind of have it separated that way. It's sort of like filtering it out. And I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. So hang with me for a second. So here's how you're going to do that. You're going to go over here to the little gear icon, click on that, and then click on See All Settings at the top. Now, you're going to get all kinds of crazy stuff happening, but what I really want you to focus on right here is the little Inbox tab up here. It's third from the left on my screen. You're going to click on that, and then right at the top it says Inbox Type. I have it set to Unread First. If I click down on this option, you'll see that these are all the different ones. If I hit Default, just for reference, everything is sort of like clustered up at the top, right? You have these tabs. I don't know about you, but I never use these tabs. So I just pop over to the settings, cleans that up super, super quickly. You can do starred first. You can do priority first. For me, I just like to do the unread first. It scratches the itch in my brain and it works great. So the other thing that I'll show you too also rests in your settings. If I have a lot of emails come through, which is very, very true for me, I like to have a star system so that I know what I need to do for certain emails. I don't know if you're the same way, but if I just have like a loose email unlabeled hanging around in here, I'm naturally going to think that it's not a big deal. I have to flag it in some way, right? So what I currently have is a star system, and I use 4. I have yellow, I have red, I have blue, and I have green. I only have 4, and those 4 work for me. And the way that I have it is that if it's yellow, that's something that I need to kind of keep top of mind. It's nothing super urgent, but it might be something that I need to get done relatively soon. It might be something that I need to keep in mind, right? Red is something that I need to respond to today. Typically, I try to have a minimum of a 24-hour turnaround with my email responses. It's usually a little bit quicker than that, but the red stars tell me that this is something I need to respond to, ideally before the end of the day or before the next 24 hours. So I have yellow, I have red, I have blue. Blue for me is more of like something that I have to read. I don't necessarily have to do anything about it. I just have to like be aware of it or be informed of it. So blue is like, hey, no big deal here. Just read it whenever you get a minute, and then at least you can say that you know what's going on in the email. And then finally, green is something that I sent out to someone that I'm waiting to hear a response back from. I don't quite want to file it away yet, but I also don't want to forget about it, because for me, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. Object permanence still works on me. I'm nearly 30, and if I don't see it, I'm not gonna remember it. So that's what the green star is for. If I'm waiting for a response from someone, having that little green star there tells me that that might be something I need to follow up on if I haven't heard in a while. Google already does something like this where, it'll give you like a little orange little reminder email saying, hey, it's been 3 days, you didn't hear from this person, do you want to nudge them? Usually that green star kind of helps double down on that effort, I guess. So really, this is kind of what my inbox system is. It really, really works great. I rarely trash anything. Maybe I'm a hoarder, I don't know, but the system works great for me. And they're super, super easy, quick tips. So with that all being said, I want to talk a little bit more about the robust stuff and how I organize my days, because some days I feel like I have 10,000 things going on. It's really easy to get overwhelmed with it, and I really, really don't want to fall behind on my work, because if I do that, I'm going to feel even more overwhelmed. So for me, in the way that I know myself, I have to be proactive in order to maintain the quality of standard that my clients expect of me on a daily basis. So let me pause this real quick. I'll reset my screen and I'll show you what that looks like. Welcome to my calendar. This actually is a little bit busier than what is typical for me. I usually don't have this many meetings, but I think it's just because the holidays are coming up. My calendars have just been booking up a lot more. But there's a lot of crazy colors happening here. There's a lot happening. But one of the things that I point out that I just think is worth mentioning, if you don't do this already, is I live and breathe off of this calendar. Again, if I don't see it, I will forget about it. So whoever I talk to, if they want to talk to me, I tell them to add me to a calendar invite. So that's why it looks a little bit crazy. And what I do is I also add in my personal calendar. I also add in my husband's calendar. I also add in my Creative Con calendar. Creative Con is that creative business networking type conference thing that I'm helping to promote. There's a lot of stuff going on. So if I'm able to just concentrate everything into one spot where I can see everything that's going on simultaneously, but also be able to filter it out if I get overwhelmed, this is a really great way to do that. So everything in pink is stuff that is for me, for my business. And it's in bright pink, not because I love the color, but because it stands out. It's very bright. It's very bold. I cannot miss it. I have to treat myself like a child, and it works for me. The other thing that you'll see too is I have checklists for when to check my email. It didn't used to be like this, but I'm constantly keeping an eye on my email, and that can sometimes be to my detriment, because then it takes me out of my flow from whatever work I'm doing, and I feel like pressured to answer an email immediately, right? So what I do is nowadays, what I'm trying to do, I'm not very good at it, but what I try to do is I exit out of my calendar, exit out of my email, so I don't see that tab. I don't see the number of emails that are popping in, right? Like if I open up my little tab right here, sometimes like in the top section, it'll tell you how many emails you have. I click out of that completely. It's kind of a nice reminder that the world is not going to stop spinning if I don't answer an email immediately. It's not like there's going to be a disruption in the space-time continuum. It's all fine. So for me, it's just trying to have control over my anxiety. It is what it is. So that's what I do. The other thing too that you'll see on this calendar is that I've got all these crazy things at the top, and that's because I actually organize my day into themes. And I've been doing this for probably the better part of a year. I would say at least 6 months, but yeah, I would say at least 6 months. I set themes for my days because if I don't, it's really easy to get overwhelmed with all of the things that I have to do, and then it seems like everything is a priority. So for the first 2 days of my week, Mondays and Tuesdays, this is usually concentrated on client-focused work, right? This is stuff that I promised I would do for people. This is stuff I have to follow up on. This is work that I have to do, agenda items or action items that I need to do, right? It's pretty intuitive. Anything relating to a client, these 2 days are like my permission to go really, really deep with those things, kind of iron out all the kinks, get all the knots untangled, right? And just get really, really clear and focused on, okay, my clients are taken care of. That's good. I can focus on other things for the rest of the week, which brings me to my media day. Wednesdays are normally when I film for YouTube. But because we picked up our puppy on Tuesday night, that kind of threw a bit of a wrench in my calendar. He's like 9.5 weeks old, so we're still trying to get the sleep schedule going. So Wednesdays are usually the days where I'm filming. It's where I'm updating like media assets, like thumbnails or something. This is when a lot of that creative work kind of happens. This also used to be the days that I would edit my videos, but I don't edit my videos anymore. My super awesome video editor, Jason, does that. So shout out to Jason. Thursdays have now become networking days. Right now, what I need to be doing as a business owner is keeping my head above water, which is why I recently hired a VA to help me execute on some of these client items. Now that I have a little bit more space, it's my goal now to start looking out for other people to cold outreach to who could also benefit from my digital marketing services. Don't worry, I'm not going to pitch you in this video. It's fine. This is where I'll maybe do a little bit of research on LinkedIn. This is maybe where I'm starting to gather email addresses or websites or something. Maybe I'm attending some networking groups or functions. This is the day for all of that to happen. It doesn't always happen that way, but I know that I at least have the permission to focus on anything relating to that day. And then finally, Fridays, I try my absolute best to not have any calls or meetings on Fridays because I like having that peace of mind, like where I know that no matter what, my Friday is wide open. And this is where I catch up on everything, things that I fell behind on, things that I need to do a little extra research on, anything that needs to be taken care of but hasn't been. Friday is a really, really great admin day for that. It's really great for catching up. And then if I end up finishing my work early, great. It's a nice little bonus, and I have a slightly extended weekend. It usually doesn't work like that because I always find things to work on. So really, that's kind of how things are organized, and it works really well for me. Now, Lauren, how do we do the execution side of things like that? It's really great, kind of high level. It's really pretty. You've got all these fun colors happening, but like, what does the action look like? I'll show you as much as I can, but I do want to protect the privacy of my clients. So I'll show you my next screen real quick. So has anyone used Trello before? I have recently become a believer in Trello. I didn't know what it was a year ago, but my husband introduced me to it. He's also a business owner, and so we just nerd out about this kind of thing together. So I live and breathe on Trello now. If it's not Google, if it's not Chrome, it's probably Trello. And this is where I keep track of all of my client items. And what's really, really great about this is that it does not cost money. You can do quite a lot on Trello without actually having to pay for it. I pay for it now because I need more capabilities than what it offers with the free version. And I'm doing that now until I can afford to pay for a dedicated hardcore project management service, right? Because I'm trying to be super budget conscious. I'm trying to reduce my overhead as much as possible. So this is currently what I operate out of. And like I mentioned before, if you remember, if you're still watching, I like to operate on like an initials basis, right? So you'll see that everything has initials before it. And that's to not only protect my client's privacy, but it's also just a really quick way for me to know exactly what this item is for, or who this item is for, without cluttering up that space any more than it needs to be, right? So everyone's color coded, everyone's got initials, and this is a calendar view that I operate out of so I can see what my weeks look like. That was something that I also forgot to mention a little bit earlier, is that I only look at 1 week at a time. Otherwise I get overwhelmed and I get distracted. I don't know if it's like a little ADD or what it is, but like weekly views work great for me. So this is what I operate out of. And now being on Trello and having a whole lot kind of happening, I assign due dates to my action items. And this works great because it all populates on my calendar. So when Monday is a client day, and I've got a lot of stuff for clients to do, it's really easy for me to get a quick scan to see who needs what, when they need it, all that jazz. So this is kind of a system that works really, really great for me. Let me see if I can show you some other capabilities without sacrificing security. So give me a second and I'll see if I can show you some more stuff. So this is an example of a new client that I have, and I'm right in the process of setting up their Trello board. This is what the template for all of my Trello boards look like. And if you're not super familiar with Trello, all you got to know is that when you make an account, you are offered a workspace. A workspace is like the umbrella that you're operating out of. My workspace is something like digital marketing or whatever. And then each of these like little each of my clients that I have fall underneath that umbrella and get their own board, right? And a board is sort of like a file that's got more files in it. I hope that makes sense. Leave a comment if you have other questions, or feel free to just make an account yourself and find out. But I really, really like to systemize things so that not only is it super simple to follow and it's very, very formulaic, but it also makes training easier, just because everything is a bit more predictable and less kind of wishy-washy and everywhere. Like everything has a system, right? And this is really, really great so that, if for whatever reason I get a huge influx of clients, it makes it a lot easier to know who needs what when without being overwhelmed by all the craziness that's happening. So this is generally what my setup is for every single client, where I house their action items in Trello. I have their goals and their deliverables, and this acts as like the North Star for me, right? So if I'm ever like too in the weeds to remember what the bigger vision is, that's what that's for. Future projects are things that maybe the client brought up, like, hey, we should do this, we should do that. It's really awesome if you have a client who's a visionary, but it's really easy to think ahead without finishing on the items that you said that you wanted to execute on. So future projects is like, hey, putting a pin in that, can't do it right now, but I want to make a note of it for later. That's what all that stuff is for. To-do items, sometimes these are individual items. If I have calls with clients, sometimes I'll just make the title the date of the meeting that we had, and then make the due date the next week or whenever our next call is. So either way, any of the items that need to be done are going to be under the to-do folder card. And this can get pretty long, which is why I'm so specific on not only the materials that are included, but also assigning a due date to it. I have to be super clear on every item that I add in this to-do folder, because if I falter, that's going to make me look bad to a client. And I want to look as close to perfection as possible. When you're starting out, you really have to make a super, super impressive first impression. So that's why I do it. In progress, ongoing, this is stuff that isn't ever really finished. It's always like ongoing work. Maybe this is researching different podcast placements. Maybe this is continuously thinking ahead of like agenda items or things to talk about later on. Roadblocks is pretty self-explanatory. It's just, why is this, what items aren't able to happen for one reason or another. And then done is probably the most satisfying board on this entire screen. It's like, I very much operate out of like a checklist kind of format. I don't know if you know, I was a former teacher and I lived and breathed off of Post-it notes and checklists. So this is kind of like a version of that. So everything that I finish goes right into the done folder. It feels amazing. So this is really kind of how I structure my days, how I organize it. Oh, and I have one more thing I want to show you. I don't want to overwhelm you, but I want to give you lots and lots of good information. So hold on, one more thing. The one other thing I want to show you is Clockify. I don't know if you use a time tracking tool. I absolutely hate time tracking tools. I really do, but I use it so that I know how I'm using my time. And that's really, really important, especially if you're a solopreneur, because it's really great to know how you're using your time, where your time is going, and it can also be a really great indicator of roles that you eventually might need to hire out for, whether they be employees, whether they be contractors, whatever. A lot of really interesting information can be found when you track your time as accurately as possible. As you can see right here, I literally track for how long I'm filming. This video is a little bit longer. This includes like prep work and getting set up and just kind of getting in the zone, So if I pause this real quick, this is Clockify. It's free. I pay for it now because I collect invoices and stuff through it, and I need more capabilities than what is there on the free version. But usually in the first line, I'll type in, I don't know, if I'm working on client stuff, I'll type in the client's initials, I don't know, LE, I'll do mine. Type in whatever the name is of the thing that I'm working on, and then I categorize that time into different folders. When I tell you that I have to be organized to a T, I mean it. So I'll click on no project first. Well, if it lets me, hold on. Oh, maybe I need to start it first. Click that. No project. And then here, these are like all the folders that I have, right? It's kind of, yeah, so these are all the folders that I have. If I have a client named Lauren Erickson and I'm working on whatever for them, let's say it's marketing, I'll click on client here so that I know that this time is spent doing client work. And then the subfolder underneath has a bunch of different stuff. So in this case, I'll probably say marketing, click save. It's billable. I don't really use this for anything. It's more just to stay organized. Click save. And now when I stop this tracker from doing client work for Lauren Erickson, it will save, well, it should. It will save it and add it to my little reservoir here. And then I can see the breakdown of everything, and it generates reports for me. I can see what things look like on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis. It's really, really awesome. They're all free tools. None of this is sponsored. This is just stuff that works for me that I really just wanted to share with you. So that's really kind of all I have. I'm going to let the Lauren in the next clip take it away. I hope you found these tips and tricks and organization techniques helpful. I'm someone who is crazy about organization. If I don't write it down, if I don't assign a due date to it, if I miss anything like that, it ruins my day, and then I get really mad at myself. So I hope that I at least save you some of that headache, and they come in handy. Some of them are a little bit easier than others. Some of them might require more of a structural redo for you, but either way, I really hope that they helped. And that's all I really have for today's video. If there's any other things that you would like for me to chat about, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you have organizational tips, techniques, things that have worked for you to stay on top of your work, definitely feel free to share them below. I'm always looking for new organizational techniques. But that's all I have. I'll see you in the next video. Take care until then, and I'll see you soon. Bye.